Hi and welcome to today's reading. Today's reading has had many twists and turns in the lead up to sitting down and pulling the cards. The message that I'm getting is that you were their test and they failed miserably. Somebody in your life has rejected a huge breakthrough when they chose their ego and they missed out on a very important opportunity in a situation where they led with their ego. You were their test. You were their breakthrough. So I've done a pre-shuffle and these were the cards that came out. Now, as I've sat and just gotten some more information on these cards, there's been some huge synchronicities that have come through. So if you're new to my channel, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. A bit about me first. I'm an intuitive tarot reader. I pick up on energy prior to a reading. I will then come and use my tarot and oracle decks to further clarify that message. Now, all of my messages are timeless. Whenever you stumble across this reading, you are meant to find it. I will give you the date. It's the 18th of November today. Now, that date might have relevance for you, but as I said, my readings are timeless. So whenever you stumble across this reading, you are meant to find it. There might be a piece of a puzzle in here, in the messages that are coming through in here, that pertains to something that you are searching for, a puzzle piece you are searching for on your own spiritual journey. All of the decks that I use on my channel are my own designs because I'm also an illustrator, part of my own spiritual journey. And part of, if you look at the name of my channel, I began my spiritual journey as an artist, as a creative. I'm not yes, I read tarot, but I read it through the eyes of somebody with a creative, with a visual take on things. I look for signs and synchronicities. And I hope that when you come to my channel and you watch my readings, it's not just the cards that resonate, but it's the imagery and the meanings behind the signs and the symbols within that imagery. We are all on, this is my first tarot deck, my Divine Portal Tarot deck. We are all on a spiritual journey. We are all looking to collect, if you can see that. The design is that you collect all the little pieces of the puzzle that you need for your own individual journey. A spiritual journey is your own. And once you collect all of those pieces, you slip through the portal to the next set of lessons. This was the first tarot deck I designed as part of a spiritual journey that I was on. And this reading is about your spiritual journey and about those that have maybe come up against you in your own spiritual journey. And they were meant to, because as I said, you were their test and they failed. They rejected a huge breakthrough, a puzzle piece that you were giving them. Now you may have set boundaries with this person. They may have ignored them and kept stepping over your boundaries. You're probably observing them and their interactions. You may have had them question who you were as a person on your journey. You may have been bullied by this person. They might have thrown shade at you. They may have tried to spiritually educate you, try and draw you to their path, to their way of thinking. They could have preached spiritual advice to you, but you are their test. What can you learn from this? What puzzle piece can you collect from them? And what puzzle piece are they meant to collect from you? Now, as I said, a couple of days ago, I did a reading on Mary Magdalene and for some reason it blew up. I'm not on YouTube to get 1 million followers, get 1 billion views on my channel. I'm on a spiritual journey. That doesn't interest me. The financial aspect of something does not interest me at all. Great if you resonate with my cards and you buy a deck, fantastic, that's great. Great if you like the video and leave a comment, fantastic. If you share your spiritual story, even better. But for me, my channel is an extension of my spiritual home. Hundreds, thousands of hours drawing, over 500 videos, hundreds and hundreds of hours of work on my own spiritual journey. And so when somebody comes into my spiritual home where other people are sharing their spiritual story and starts attacking me or other people for their journey, I have to balance. I am a Libra sun, so balanced. I like to see both sides of an argument, but I am a Scorpio moon. And I have to balance the sting with the wisdom. And that may be where you are at the moment, with somebody coming towards you. Now, I've never had so many people comment, and I'm truly, truly grateful. Really, really grateful. And so inspired by a lot of the comments that were on that video, a lot of people's journeys, and so humbled that some things that I was saying within the reading were resonating with people and resonating with their spiritual journey. And we are all on individual spiritual journeys. But what I took offense to, as I said, was some of the comments more aimed at other people. Like, I've got a tough exterior, I can handle it. And that was how I responded. But please don't attack other people for their spiritual journey. And specifically people in big energies. So I went into what can I learn from this? What boundaries can I set with a person who is in their ego and doesn't realize that they are overstepping my boundaries? As I said, I observe them and their interactions. One thing that came to mind was it's not the content, it's the delivery. Sometimes when people are coming at you, it's how they deliver it. And maybe they don't even realize. Everybody, including people that come at you, are on their own spiritual journey. They've had their own set of lessons to learn, their own trials, their own tribulations. And I was trying to balance that out. That Libra in me, balance that out. And I'm 50, I've seen a lot. And I haven't decided yet what I'm actually going to do about those comments. They're kind of icky. They give me an icky feeling. I don't like that. And I have spent years and years and years creating boundaries. This particular person told me that I should be able to feel their frequency. Well, I certainly did. Actually, their frequency entered the room before they did. Oftentimes in that instance, people, when they are confronted, they come forward with their spiritual backstory. And it's a way to emotionally manipulate a situation, to try and get you onto their side. And I go back to that, you were their test. There's a puzzle piece in this interaction that you were meant to give, or that you tried to give to this person, but they chose not to take it. These are people who bully others, throw shade at them, and once they've tried to give you their side of the story and you're not having a bar of it, or you put up boundaries to them, they then try to spiritually educate others. And in this instance, this is what happened. Trying to emotionally manipulate other people in the comment section and educate them on the next steps on their spiritual path. Everybody's spiritual path is individual. One thing that didn't happen, that I haven't seen, but does happen, is that somebody like this can then try and re-educate other people around you as a way of almost forming an army against you and the spiritual path that you have chosen. So again, what can you learn from this? And that brings me to the cards that came out in the pre-shuffle. So the first two are my angel cards. The first one, divine contemplation. That's where it sent me, into contemplation. What can I learn from this? And protection and guidance on your spiritual journeys, which is just beautiful, like just beautiful. This is the Seven of Cups, which is Venus in Pisces. Pisces is your spiritual journey, where you pour your heart and soul. And this is the Queen of Cups, which is Neptune in Libra. The balance you get and the wisdom that you get. That card's about intuition, about knowing that you are on your own spiritual path. Neptune, the bottom of the ocean. Knowing that you might be there on your own, but recognizing that that's where you are meant to be. Intuitively knowing that that's where you're meant to be. So Neptune in Libra, if I think of Neptune, it's the bottom of the ocean. The bottom of the ocean. These are people that think that you need saving. That you need saving by understanding their spiritual point of view. You're protected. You are protected. And whatever interaction you have with these people, It's part of your spiritual journey. It's part of a lesson that you're meant to learn. You are a gift to this person, as is they are a gift to you. And that came through in a reading that I watched this morning because I asked for some guidance into how to present this reading today in a manner that was part of a lesson, not an attack. And a beautiful reading came through, and it was about the blessings that you receive, or the blessings that God gives you, come through other people. So for me, the blessing was all these beautiful people that watched that reading, resonated with it, and wrote lovely comments. That was the blessing for me. They wrote lovely comments about their own spiritual journey. Almost like people that you're meant to align with in this lifetime, part of your soul tribe. Almost, that reading was almost a meeting point, I would say. And I think in that Mary Magdalene video, one of the things that I had got was meet me in the madness, like a meeting point, where a heap of people are all on an individual journey. I'm so frustrated and are just looking for a way to connect. But it's a way to connect, not a way to be attacked or redirected onto somebody else's spiritual path. So these are the other cards that came out. Now we've got the King of Cups. So we've got the King and the Queen of Cups here. So it's coming into divine balance. Now divine balance is about balancing your masculine energy, which is Mars energy, which is forward action. It's, Mars is the planet of war. And Venus, which is divine feminine energy, Venus in Pisces, your spiritual journey, is about balancing out the two. And when that happens, they call them roundabouts here in Australia. I don't know if they're called roundabouts anywhere else, but essentially it's a meeting point. Meet me in the madness. A point where a group of souls connect, because everybody has got a puzzle piece for somebody else. And it might be a blessing and it might be a lesson. And for me too, a blessing and a lesson. The King of Cups, Neptune in Pisces, the bottom of the ocean. Where you are, spiritually in the dark, trying to be your own light. And the Wheel of Fortune, which is Jupiter energy. Now, the other cards that I got was the Six of Swords, Mercury in Aquarius. Aquarius is about the rebel. It's about doing things your own way, your own spiritual journey. And the Six of Swords is a card of divine guidance, meaning that Mercury is the planet of communication. Where you are headed, you are divinely meant to go, and you are meant to meet up with this person on that journey. This particular individual or set of individuals on this journey, there's a lesson there for everybody. It's a blessing. The blessing that you get when you meet these people in the madness. The Ace of Pentacles. Then we have the Strength card. Now that comes into play over here, and I literally was floored because within the comments, somebody had mentioned something about a winged lion. A dream that they had had about 2 winged lions. And I've been thinking about it, knowing that I had seen it or read it, and then I got that aha moment. A winged lion, the strength to proceed on a journey, even though you're being tested by somebody else. And then the Judgment card, which is Pluto in Aquarius. This particular period of time is a 20-year transit that started at the beginning of this year, 20-year transit of Pluto in Aquarius. It's a time of revolutionary change. It's a time of you taking back your own sovereignty, of you taking back the power from people that wish to push you down, overthrow you. People in their ego. It's a Judgment card. It's basically saying you're making a judgment call. You choosing to receive the lesson or the blessing from that person and not worry about what they take from it. That's their own spiritual journey. It's having the strength to continue on your journey, even though it might be being judged by other people. I'm so frustrated, and it's frustrating. Let's move these over. Follow your soul's calling. That's what you're being asked to do. Don't listen to the naysayers. Follow your soul's calling. And fated. Whatever happened in that video, for me personally, was part of a lesson and a blessing. Whatever interaction this is for you in your life, it is part of a lesson and a blessing that was meant to happen, fated. A lesson where you were meant to use your strength to stay within your conviction of where you are on your journey. And I want to say here that it is about sticking with your soul's path, but not criticizing anybody else for theirs. Recognizing that everybody is on their own journey. Now, these two cards, they popped out and I was like, what is the message? So, we've got Venice here, 2 Venice cards out of this huge big deck. There's like 170 cards in there, 2 Venice cards. An individual bird, a solo soul journey that you're on. Now, this actually blew my mind because when I actually went looking at the imagery of these, they're both Venice, okay? This is part of my travel deck. When I was 21, I'm 50 this year, just turned 50. When I was 21, I went to England for a working visa for 12 months, and then I traveled around Europe. And I didn't realize at the time, and these photos that I took on my little, Kodak camera, where you have to go and get them printed, not like on your phone these days. All of the places that I traveled on my journey back 20 years ago actually connect to some pretty big spiritual revelations that I've had on my own spiritual journey over the last 7 years. Huge, actually. And I would say to you, if you are on a spiritual journey, and if you are older like me, yes, if you're younger, but go back and have a look. Pull out your old photos, because there are places that you have been and things that you have done and people that you have met unknowingly that have all been part of little roundabouts. Now, again, I don't know if it's called a roundabout in other countries. It's basically where you get 5 or 6 roads all coming into one point, and then you all have to work together, give way to the right. In Australia, give way to the right. You work together so that you all don't crash into each other. It's like the intersections of your life. And so the messages that come out in these cards are literally, I've just had so many holy cow moments, holy smokes moments. And I said before, in the reading that I posted, and there was hundreds and hundreds of comments, which I've never had before, and for me, it was lovely just to read everybody's story. Because I think a lot of times you are in this solitary phase. Even here, I was thinking about that when I was just looking at the image. The single lampstand in a crowd of people, and you have to go into the dark to be your own light, right? My journey on YouTube started as part of a huge spiritual awakening that I was having. And for me, doodling on a page, calms me, gets me grounded. And I would sit and listen hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of readings. Tarot readers, spiritual readers, Bible study, anything. I was like devouring the information. And as I drew, the drawings became huge, big artworks, and they grace the walls of my house. There's probably 30, 40, 50 of them all through my house. And then in turn, they became the covers of my tarot decks. And as I started to know and understand tarot, I then started to draw the backs of the cards. And that's how I learned. But again, it's I'm Catholic. Tarot and oracle cards and spiritual readings are taboo. So I was on my own spiritual journey. And that's why I say that my channel is my home. And if you're going to come into my home, into my spiritual home, then I will respect your spiritual journey as long as you respect the spiritual journey of the other guests in my home. Somebody's come into your home, into your spiritual home. You were their test. You were their huge breakthrough, but they led with their ego. So we've got Venice here, a journey, a spiritual journey. We've got a boat here, a spiritual journey. And then, and I'm pretty sure that it is, the Basilica in Venice is called the Basilica di San Marco. It's the Basilica of Saint Mark. Saint Mark was one of the 12 apostles. Now, yesterday I had planned to sit down and do a whole heap of readings, but I was so in my head about everything that had happened and the ick of the comments that I was reading that I just couldn't pull any cards. I didn't want to pull that energy into a reading. But one of the people that was being attacked, the irony of readings and their connections and their synchronicities, and I know now why I had that day yesterday. I just sat there and just watched videos that randomly popped up. I had my videos set to auto load, and so it would just load the next kind of thing. And I watched this video of the 12 disciples. After Jesus had died, they all left. They feared persecution, and they all left and went on their own spiritual journeys. And the video was about how they were martyred. So this is where I found out yesterday. So the fact that these two cards have come out today. Yesterday, while I was just removing myself from something that was toxic, I discovered that Mark, as in the Gospel of Mark, the Basilica in Venice is named after him. On a journey, and I'm going to butcher this name, to Aquila, which is in Italy, they passed through and they stopped their boats at the islands that would become Venice. And I think he was there for a little bit, but then he ended up in Alexandria, where he was rope around his neck, dragged through the town because people disagreed with his spiritual journey and they wanted to take him down. So he was martyred. But prior to that, he had had a dream. An angel had come to him in a dream, and this is Venetian legend. According to Venetian legend, an angel appeared to Mark in a dream and told him that his body would one day rest in the city, saying, "Peace be with you, Mark my evangelist." His remains were taken from Alexandria, Egypt, to Venice in the 9th century AD and are now housed in the Basilica of San Marco. Because of his connection to the city, Mark became the patron saint of Venice, and the symbol of Venice is the winged lion representing him. And I said to you that somebody else in the comments had had a dream, and I think it was on that reading, had had a dream about 2 winged lions. How beautiful is that? Now, those winged lions are also in the book of Ezekiel and the book of Revelation, and they represent divine protection and guidance on your spiritual journey. Like, I couldn't have pulled these cards, sat and picked them out of the decks if I had have tried. There is so many synchronicities here. You were their test. They rejected a huge breakthrough when they chose to lead with their ego. Don't be frustrated. You are on a spiritual path that involves people who will come at you and come against you because you don't represent their version of a spiritual journey. Now, on the flip side, and again, I go back to that, what can I learn from this? As I was sitting yesterday in divine contemplation, one thing I was drawn to was the beginning of my most recent spiritual awakening. So as I said, I'm 50, but when I was about 43, my daughter, I went to Catholic schools all my life. I married somebody who was Catholic. Our children, who are now in their 20s, they went through Catholic schools. And at the age of 18, my daughter came to me and said that she was converting to Islam. And I was this person in my comment section, trying to convince somebody that their spiritual journey was not correct or not the way it should be done, or, you know, all of this sort of stuff. I've been there. I've been that person. Taking offense. Well, does that mean, and I'm giving you the other side of it, does that mean that because you now don't want to be Catholic anymore, do you disagree then with who I am on a spiritual level? And I had to go through that huge spiritual awakening. My daughter was my breakthrough. She was my gift. She was my blessing. And not as a child being born, but as a child becoming an adult and stepping into her own spiritual journey and stepping on her own spiritual path. And I remember getting in the car after that conversation, which was fairly lengthy. I remember getting in the car and driving. I think I drove for 3 or 4 hours, and I just cried and cried and cried and cried till I got to the point where I said, what can I learn from this? And I literally asked God, how can I support my child when I don't understand and I don't agree at the time? I don't understand and I don't agree. I asked, please show me. Please show me. She was my gift in that moment and that spiritual awakening. And she was my breakthrough. And you are that for somebody. And this whole Pluto in Aquarius transit is a time of revolutionary change. People are actually stepping away from the confines of their life, the things that they felt spiritually bound in, whether it's a marriage or a religion or a workplace or anything like that. And those that have different ideas on how, those that want to impart what they think is universal spiritual truth onto somebody else are those that haven't yet recognized that there's a gift that you have for them. Okay, let's pull some cards. They're the ones that missed out on a very important opportunity. I've just got written on my notes, hurt people, hurt people. Okay, let's get some cards. Actually, I'm going to use this. This is my Lovebirds Tarot deck. Now, not a love reading, but this particular deck is about, the two characters in this deck are about two people that go on their own journey. And through that journey, they connect with somebody that is on their soul path, like this roundabout here. Like the people that connected in those comments. And like the cards that have come out that connect with the people within the comments. This is about spiritual enlightenment and recognizing that when you actually get yourself on your soul path, you receive divine blessings, because this particular deck, and it was, again, you know, these things that reference the past. You've got a key there. My grandmother, not this teacup here, it's a set of teacups that are in on a shelf in my house, but my grandmother gave me a set of these teacups. It's called the willow tree design, and it basically is the story of these cards. The willow tree design is about two individuals who are, they're in love, they're meant to be together, but they're being separated by somebody who thinks that they know better. So they both go on their own individual journeys. They meet on a bridge. Meet me in the madness, Mary Magdalene. They meet on a bridge and they take off on their own journeys, but together, as a group, but together, being supported by each other, not attacked by each other, or not attacked by somebody else. Knowing that if this person catches up to them, Mark the Evangelist, they're going to be martyred. And God turns them into a pair of birds so that they can fly away to their freedom, to their spiritual freedom. That was a teacup that was given to me by my grandmother years ago, maybe 10 years ago. She bought it in England on a trip that she did. There's connections back. Go back and have a look at the things in your grandma's cupboard, the memories of those people around you. And I'm pointing here because I've got a picture of my grandmother there. She sits with me in my readings. It's all connected, interwoven, I want to say. Okay, let's have a look at the energy around you. You were their test. They rejected a huge breakthrough when they chose their ego. Death. That's Scorpio and Pluto energy. We've got Pluto here. They miss the lesson. They miss the blessing. The lesson is the blessing. Because if you have a look at that card, and the reason it's a bird's nest is because the end of this story is these two birds flying away to their spiritual freedom. Two people, two souls connecting. In this instance, laying eggs, planting seeds. But they've flown away from the nest and they've left what's of value there. The Death card, death and rebirth. A different perspective. I've just got a poem in my head and I can't remember it. It's a phrase that my daughter wrote. The energy, it'll come to me. The 3D energy. The energy, am I asking the energy? I want to know the energy you're in. The energy you're in. The Queen of Swords. Okay. This is good. This is Uranus in Aquarius. That's earthquake energy. Uranus is the planet of earthquakes. And Aquarius is, I'm going to walk my own path, irrespective of whether you like it or not. The soul. This is you in the soul. It's the Ten of Wands, which is Saturn and Sagittarius. The karmic lessons that you learn with this person, or it might be multiple people. Lesson after lesson after lesson after lesson, and every lesson is a blessing. The message from the man upstairs. You know, and for example, if you have somebody, a leopard, I just heard a leopard doesn't change its spots. If you have somebody who is coming at you, don't be thinking that you're the only person that they have come at. They have probably, in this instance, you know, if you have somebody that is leaving nasty comments, they're probably all over. I even think of that solitary pigeon. Have you ever seen the pigeon poo in Venice? It's everywhere. They're dropping bombs everywhere. Don't take it personally. Take the lesson, but don't take it personally. And I would also say to you, when you're leaving a comment, you know, even if you don't agree with something, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. Or there's another one that's, before you leave a comment, is it true? Is it helpful? Is it kind? I mean, that's simple, right? The message from the man upstairs. War, the Star. Healing and transformation. That's fated. This fated card here. Fated that you encounter this person and it's for your and their healing and transformation. That's so beautiful. The outcome. Wow. Enlightenment, the sun. And on the bottom, the Knight of Cups. Now that's the moon in Scorpio. So things coming to light, a recognition that you were their test, you were their huge breakthrough, and they rejected it. The Knight of Cups, as I said, is the moon in Scorpio. Then the 18th today, the 20th this week, is the new moon in Scorpio. And that's also my placement, the moon in Scorpio. And I just had to go find the poem. It's on page 144. She's a published poet. 144 of her book. Discussion. The greatest intellectual discussions are when neither person enters it to remain unchanged. We're not all meant to be the same. We're not all meant to have the same opinions and the same spiritual journey, and how boring would life be if we were all the same? You know, in my home, as I said, we are multi-faith. My husband and I were born in different countries. So multicultural, multi-faith. There have been differences from the beginning. And now those differences bring great intellectual discussion. Like in that poem, great intellectual discussion. The greatest intellectual discussions are when neither person enters it to remain unchanged. They rejected a huge breakthrough. Okay, let's get some cards. Let's have a look at what they left in the nest. The blessing that they left in the list. Cards, the world. The end of a cycle. This was the end of a cycle for this person. This was the test. The world card represents Saturn. It's the test. In the tarot, you start from 0 and you go to 21. And when you get to 21, you get the opportunity to start on the next phase of your spiritual journey, but only if you learn the spiritual lesson. They rejected a spiritual lesson. Cards, I've got the moon in Libra on the bottom. The Two of Swords. They had their blinders on to the gift that they were being given because they were in their ego. Whoa, 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 because they're in their ego. The Devil, again, Saturn. They're in a toxic pattern of stepping forward in their ego instead of stepping forward in an opportunity to see somebody else's spiritual point of view. Okay, the Queen of Swords here. Cards, these cards, honestly. Horizon, that's New Horizons. That's the Three of Wands. The Sun in Aries. Now, that can be you, that can also be them, meaning that once you recognize that somebody isn't taking your point of view into account, that's when you go, actually, you know what? Boundaries up, and you walk away. I'm not flying the same way you're flying. The Ace of Pentacles. I've received, because we've got it up here, I've received the gift that I was given in the spiritual lesson that I was meant to learn with you. I just had to think about my words then. The spiritual lesson that I was meant to learn from you. Spiritual, these are lessons from God. This is the hand of God. The spiritual lesson that I was meant to learn from you. I've received it now. I get it. The message has come through loud and clear. And now I'm on my way. Ten of Wands. I've learned everything that I need to learn. Again, this could be you. The Ten of Wands. Well, the Ten of Wands really is the World card. In some aspects, the spiritual lessons, because this is Saturn in Sagittarius, which is all the lessons, because it goes back to 1. 10's are the end. I've learned all the spiritual lessons that I can from you now. We've crossed paths. We've hit each other on the roundabout. I've been able to work through it, and you're still going round and round and round and round and round. Okay, the Ten of Wands. The Four of Swords, which is Jupiter in Libra. And the Nine of Pentacles. Wow. Jupiter in Libra. That's you. This is you here. The Ten of Wands. The encounter that you've had with this person has actually put you into spiritual alignment, because the original drawing of this card is a guy who has been out in battle. He's been out in battle and he comes back and he seeks refuge in the church, and he lies down in the church in order to heal. The Four of Swords, Jupiter in Libra. And the Nine of Pentacles is Mother Mary. Venus in Virgo. It's spiritual freedom. The World card, you get your spiritual freedom by learning the lesson that you had to when you encountered this soul. Spiritual freedom. And where they are on the journey doesn't really matter. Who they then have to repeat their test with. Yeah, that's my washing machine finishing. The end of a cycle. It's the end of their cycle with you. And that might come about by you putting boundaries up, cutting them off. Page of Pentacles on the bottom, which is the card of the student. Maybe cutting them off is part of the spiritual lesson that they need to learn from you. That they can't go around doing and saying what they want to say, that their words, their actions have consequences. Okay, the Star. The Judgment card. Cutting them off. You're making a judgment call with this person because you've taken the time to say, what can I learn from this? And that's your test. Your test is not firing back at somebody if they're not in a state of readiness to listen, in readiness to communicate. That's when you can walk away, knowing that you've done everything. you can for this person. And even yesterday, you know, when I was kind of responding to things and working out what I wanted to do moving forward, as I said, I've never had that many comments. I've never had anybody write anything nasty. And I was trying to respond in a way of not offending anybody. But the reality was that I was talking to somebody who didn't give a rat's about whether they offended anybody else. And here I was trying not to offend. So interesting. The whole thing is so interesting. So interesting. And a valuable lesson. And also a lesson too, in, you know, as I said, the comments, there are messages coming through here in these cards today that resonate with or connect synchronistically with comments. It's all connected. We're all connected. We're all on a soul journey, individually. It's like when you see a flock of birds flying in the sky. They're all flying in the same direction, but they're all on different, you know, latitudes, longitudes, whatever you want to call it, slightly different, but they're all going the same way. And you can't say to that guy who's last in a row of 100 birds, well, you're on the wrong path because you should be over here. Well, we're all going the same way. We're all looking for enlightenment. So why begrudge somebody else of their journey just because it doesn't align with you, or just because something that you think you know to be your truth isn't necessarily somebody else's truth? And I've got an image of my grandfather. He didn't like milk. So in the morning, he would eat cornflakes. I don't know if he would eat cornflakes for breakfast. But he'd have it with tomato juice. Disgusting. But I like cornflakes. And I would have it with milk. We're both eating cornflakes, just doing it a different way. It's not right or wrong, it's just different. Okay, the Star card. Yeah, look, the Eight of Cups, which is Saturn in Pisces. That's a current placement at the moment. Saturn in Pisces, and it's the 29th degree of Pisces. Saturn is about to go into Aries. The spiritual lessons that you learn, this is so beautiful here. The spiritual lessons that you learn and the things and the people that you walk away from because they no longer align with where you are headed on your spiritual path. Because Pisces is the 12th sign of the zodiac. And when Saturn leaves Pisces, currently in the 29th degree, which is the anaretic degree of Pisces, which is crisis point, judgment, crisis point. A fated crisis point. You know, when you're going onto a roundabout, like the decision that you make, it determines whether your car gets smashed into or not. Or whether you do, you know, how you act towards somebody determines whether you smash into them or not. The gift is that you both recognize each other and then you move through safely. Now, whoever this is in your life, this is somebody who enjoys creating. It's almost like gaslighting, right? They go in, light a fire, and then want to be the spiritual savior. Spiritually gaslighting. Okay. So when Saturn goes into Aries next year, if you've taken away the spiritual lesson from this person, Aries is the start of the zodiac. Aries is where you plant your seeds. If you've taken the lesson away from that person, or you've taken the lesson that you were meant to from that person, freedom, spiritual freedom, the beginning, this new cycle for you, then you're planting your seeds going forward with spiritual knowledge, with the spiritual knowledge that you're on the right path. Whereas for this person, toxicity, what's going to happen is until they accept, they rejected a huge breakthrough when they chose their ego. Until they accept that breakthrough, they're going to be somebody who continues to plant their seeds in toxic energy. It's not meant to be. I don't know whether you saw that. This deck is the right way up, right? That card came out like that. I'm going to turn it over. The High Priestess. The High Priestess is somebody who is spiritual. But when they're in reverse, it's not. It's somebody who's not willing to learn the spiritual lessons that are being handed to them by God. the connections that you make. All these cards are the right way up. That's not meant to be there. And I check my cards. That's being held back from a spiritual breakthrough because they got their blinders on. And I did say that before, the Two of Swords, which is the moon in Libra. Somebody that's in out of balance energy, who is refusing to see two swords is two people's two different perspectives, refusing to see anybody else's perspective because they believe their perspective to be true or the truth. And so what happens is they get stuck in a karmic loop because they rejected a huge breakthrough. They rejected the test from God. God used you as a tool, as a test for this person. Okay, the Sun. Whoa. Holy smokes. Oh! That's the Hierophant. That's the God card. That's the Two of Swords, which I was just talking about. They rejected the Ace of Wands, which is fire energy. Now, let me just... The Seven of Cups. They chose the wrong cup. The Seven of Cups is often a card of illusion. The Seven of Cups is Venus in Pisces, which is in this instance, when they choose their own cup, they're basically saying that everybody else's cup isn't worthy, isn't true, isn't valuable. You must drink from my cup. Venus in Pisces, it's the card of illusion. And it's somebody who thinks their shit don't. So these cards here, we've got Illumination here. We've got the Hierophant, which is the soul contract that you have with the man upstairs. That's the God card. In the original drawing of the tarot, you can see that too. Two keys, okay? The key to a blessing and the key to a lesson. Two people. The soul contract between two people that come together that are meant to learn something from each other by being open to the other's point of view. A blessing and a breakthrough. This person's had their blinders on. And the Ace of Wands. The original drawing of the Ace of Wands in the tarot, that wand symbolizes, and you can even see it, and I did say it in my Divine Portal Tarot, which this is, okay? These are all the lessons that you learn and the roundabout, right? So funny. I've never looked at that as a roundabout before. All the lessons that you learn, all the people that you meet, okay? You pick up all the puzzle pieces, you get your spiritual breakthrough, you get your blessings, and you're shot through into the portal, which means you go back from the World card, which is the end of this cycle, you get shot through to the next set of lessons. You go through the portal. Spiritual ascension, you go through the portal. This person's stuck, going round and round and round and round and round because they refuse to pick up some of the lessons that they're meant to learn. But in this particular card, and look, I've got the lessons here. In the original drawing of the tarot, this is Aaron's rod. Now, Aaron is Moses' brother, the spiritual journey that the two of them were on in guiding people out of slavery, out of this mindset which has them stuck. And when you think about the Pharaoh, he was ego, somebody in ego. It's my way or the highway. Aaron's staff, or Aaron's rod, was what Moses used to part the waters, to get them through to the promised land. So this is where you are. You've met your soul contract with God. You've collected all the puzzle pieces that you were meant to collect. And now you're being guided through spiritually to whatever is the promised land, to the next phase of your spiritual journey. This person isn't. They didn't pass the test. And that staff was actually popped in the Ark of the Covenant after they made it through. And the little sprouts on there, a little almond, it was an almond branch. And so it was popped into this box. Did it have, hang on a second. hang on a second. The Ark of the Covenant has golden cherubim with 2 wings each, spread upwards to overshadow the mercy seat at each end of the Ark's lid. Just getting that winged lion. 2 winged lions. You're being taken through to the next phase. You're being popped through a portal because you've asked the lesson. What can I learn from this? You were their test. A test they rejected. A huge breakthrough when they chose their ego. You missed out on a very important opportunity. But you got the blessing. You passed the test. Okay, I'm gonna get one card from here. Okay, Jesus and Mary. Eternal Father, receive thee, the offering that the heart of Jesus Christ, beloved Son, and he offers thee in sacrifice. Satisfaction for my sins, giving, purify me. But that was in reverse. A sacrifice. Get a card for that. The 5 of Cups, Mars in Scorpio, and Mercury in Cancer on the bottom. If you look at those cards, ooh, the 9 of Pentacles. Oh, wow, okay. What I was going to, and again, you know, I say to you, they're all the right way up, and sometimes it just happens. And I shuffled that. So whoever this is in your life, who sacrificed you and your spiritual journey because they thought that their opinion was better, or that what you're doing is wrong, or that you shouldn't be on that path, or that you've misinterpreted some information and you haven't quite got it, so let me tell you what I think, right? They've sacrificed a lesson. They've sacrificed a breakthrough. This is in reverse. The offering, something that was offered to them, is in reverse. The moment they sacrificed you and your journey for their ego. So, Mercury in Cancer, the 3 of Cups, which is about communication. What am I telling you? What are they telling you? This is the way to do it. This is celebration. You will be on the right path if you follow what I think is best for you. 3 of Cups. But what's actually happened here is 2 of Cups is somebody who's in alignment, right? Somebody who has balanced the divine feminine and masculine energy. That's you. And 3 of Cups is those 3 cups falling over. The thing that God was offering them has now fallen over. And I don't know whether you can hear that. My washing machine has just, I'm washing quilt covers, and so it goes out of balance. So that's the sound to say it's out of balance. They were out of balance in this interaction with you. And I'm just going to leave it be. I will change it in a minute. They're out of balance in their interaction with you because they haven't come in with an open heart and an open mindset to see through somebody else's spiritual lens. And so we've got the 9 of Pentacles here, which is Venus in Virgo, which is Virgin Mary, which we have here. And that's the card of spiritual freedom. They're not spiritually free, they're stuck. They're going back on the roundabout. And God determines whether they get off or not. And that is determined by whether they have that breakthrough or not. That people that are presented to them on their path that have differing opinions are a blessing, an opportunity to learn and grow. Now, I've just got a new washing machine, and when I just went to turn it off, basically I thought it was still in the spin mode. And that's why I was getting that out of balance sound. But basically, because I've got some big quilts and big journeys in there, it's coming into summer here, so I'm kind of clearing everything out, spring cleaning and putting things up and away. And I just want to wash it all before I do it. But I was going in there thinking that it was going to have a little sign that said out of balance, which it did, but it was also flashing end, meaning the end of a cycle. The cycle had ended, and basically what's sitting now in the machine ready to be hung is heavy, and so it's pulling the washing machine out of balance. Such an interesting reading. I'm actually going to get a Mother Mary card. Anything else we need to know? This card, Mother and Child, unconditional love. And that's the sign of Virgo, which is M for Mary, and then the fish, which is the symbol for Jesus. Mother and child. Okay. Some connection that you have, that's come out upside down. Our Lady's slipper. Mary's beautiful steps are in reverse. And dandelion. Mary's bitter sorrow. And it's just open up to the Virgin. Purity and innocence. And that's funny too, because these things happen, right? So I think the reading that I posted yesterday, I was talking about making scones. And somebody in the comments had put in the fact that there were lots and lots of synchronicities within that reading, within the things that I was talking about that were happening in my own life, but that they were actually making, I'm pretty sure it was pomegranate and choc chip scones. We are all connected. I am telling you, we are all connected. It's like the crossroads, the roundabout of our soul paths are all connected. And you're meant to meet people that help you grow spiritually, and you're meant to meet people who are part of the divine blessings that you receive, but you're meant to be a blessing for them, and they're meant to be a blessing for you. And if that doesn't happen, then it's a lesson. And so I am grateful for any interactions, good or bad, because there's something in it that I can learn. And I would say to you that if that is the spiritual path you are on, and that is your mindset, then you're in the best place, because you can actually step back and view things from a spiritual lens, as opposed to viewing things from your ego. Okay, I'm gonna get some Scrabble tiles. Letters and numbers in here. It does make a little bit of noise when I shake it. That's so funny. Pomegranate. 613 seeds, actually 613 seeds. And Moses, he wrote the 10 Commandments, but there was more than that. There was actually 613. The covenant that you have with God, the covenant that you have with the people that are part of your soul tribe. Mary's bitter sorrow. And those people that you blow off on the way because you don't think, or because you think you're better than them, or that you know more than them, or that you can teach them something that you think that they don't know. Like, everybody's on their own path, and everybody's at their own stage of their path. Okay, letters and numbers in here. It does make a little bit of noise when I shake it. I'm going to shake it in 3, 2, 1. Okay, that's it. We've got a T and a 1, a TB and a V and a 4, an F and a 4, a B and a 3, and a W and a 4. Those letters might mean something to you. There's no vowels. Why is there no vowels? Okay, 3 final cards, and that is actually, you know what, I'm going to sneeze. Excuse me. Again, the Magician and the Chariot. You're moving on. You're moving on, the Chariot. You're moving on and this person's stuck. That's what I was going to get. Stuck in the lessons. The Knight of Pentacles is Saturn in Capricorn. Stuck in a sea of lessons. Okay, what I was going to get was an advice card for you. Let's just see if there's anything else that you are meant to know about this situation. Thankfulness. I'm profoundly grateful for this life and the wondrous opportunity. I'm going to start again. I am profoundly grateful for this life and the wondrous opportunities it bestows. And that includes being grateful for the lessons that you learn, for the people that you meet, good or bad, because within it all, there are blessings. Regret. I recognize that the sands of time cannot be altered. And defeat. That's beautiful. Defeat. I perceive that a failure is merely a gateway to wisdom, which is what we're talking about here, spiritual wisdom. That's what I've got for you. Thank you so much for joining me in this reading. Thank you so much for all the love on the Mary Magdalene reading. Thank you so much for your beautiful comments about your own spiritual journeys. I wish everybody well on their own spiritual journeys, whether it's the same or different or a combination of everybody's. It's all beautiful and it's all where we're meant to be, because the North Node is currently in Pisces. The North Node is our collective awakening. The North Node is where we are going as a collective. The North Node is specifically in Pisces. It's about spirituality, the spiritual journey that we are all on together, individually, but together, supporting each other. So thanks again. If this reading resonated with you, please give it a like. If it didn't, just move along. If it didn't, that's okay too. If you are called to any of my tarot or oracle decks, the links to those can be found in the description box. All the best on your journey, and I will see you in another reading.